Hello and welcome to session 369, Becoming Peace, Weekly Meditation. The name of today's session is The Spiritual Purpose of Aloneness. This week is 2 out of 9 segments where we are visiting the science and purpose of being alone. I'm astonished at how many of us feel alone and isolated. It's been a pandemic of sorts that seems to be felt by the epidemic that we just came through. It's my wish to bring your heart some solace and some mind shifting where this topic is concerned. So we will be devoting a few weeks ahead to helping us all understand how we can turn such a heartbreaking feeling like loneliness, isolation, and silence into something serene, beautiful, and soul-saving. It's switching up our old paradigms and toppling being lonely on its own head. In essence, we're visiting a paradigm shift for when we feel lonely, isolated, or experiencing feelings of uncertainty. It provides a unique perspective on aloneness and showing how God can refine us in a very unique way when we don't have the distractions of the world at our feet, but rather can sit in silence and aloneness to secure our relationship with the divine. So, let's get started. Find a comfy seat and sit and relax. Take some very deep breaths in, resting at the top of the breath for just a few seconds, and then exhaling through the mouth. Continue this breathing throughout our session today. The concepts we're discussing changed and altered my entire perspective and worldview on the loneliness I experience on a daily basis. I'm virtually in solitude and alone about 22 to 23 hours a day. My entire life up to this point, being the oldest of 6 siblings, along with welcoming 4 beautiful children into the world, has most often been filled with family, interactions, and lots of movement and sometimes chaos. It's been a very difficult adjustment moving to silence, aloneness, and basically no human interactions as my home has emptied out and my kids have gone on to build their own lives. I want to give credit where credit's due. The words I'm sharing with you are taken from a speech from Jonathan Chan titled, "Why God Wants You to Be Alone." The spiritual purpose of aloneness. Sometimes we carry burdens, unhealed wounds, or fears that we don't even realize are affecting us when we are alone. God brings those things to the surface, allowing us to confront them and bring them before Him. He doesn't do this to condemn us, but to heal us, to purify us, and to draw us closer to His love. Solitude can also serve as a time of reflection. When was the last time you truly reflected on the state of your own soul? When was the last time you sat quietly and allowed yourself to fully acknowledge the areas of your life that need God's touch? In the rush of everyday life, we often don't take the time to do this. But solitude, the moments when we are alone with God, provide the space to reflect on where we are spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. It's in these moments that God can reveal to us areas of growth, places of healing, and the next steps on our journey with Him, almost providing some sort of an instruction manual, so to speak. God uses solitude to refine us as you sit in His presence. He begins to remove distractions, both external and internal, and shapes you into the person you are and have been called to be. You may not always see the immediate results of this refining process, but rest assured, God is working in you. He is refining your character, strengthening your faith, and preparing you for the work He has ahead. Just as gold is refined in the fire, our faith is often refined in the solitude of God's presence. So this thought brought me to a point. Is being alone a punishment and harsh, or is it actually working for my good and saving my soul? I also find it interesting that life is infused naturally, that in the twilight of our years, as we move through our life, towards the end, it's more silent, it's more solace, it's more solitude, it's quiet and with less distractions. I wonder if there is a purpose, a divine purpose for all of that. Something to meditate on. Let's continue. God uses solitude to deepen our trust in Him. When we're alone, we often find ourselves in a vulnerable state. There's no one else to turn to, no one else to lean on. And it's in these very moments that we must choose to trust God fully. Do you see His purpose? I guarantee if you're human, you will at one point find yourself in a very lonely, vulnerable place. This is my call to action, to come to the feet of your Creator and develop that relationship instead of wasting away and pining away the moments and precious hours. It's easy to trust God when everything's going well, when we're surrounded by support and encouragement and hugs and joy and laughter. But when we are alone, we are facing challenges or moments of uncertainty. This is when our trusting God is truly tested. God allows these moments of solitude so that we can learn to rely on Him alone. He wants us to understand that He is enough, that He is faithful, and that in every moment He is with us. Might I suggest that solitude is a gift from God? It's not meant to be a time of loneliness or despair, but a time of intimacy and connection with the Creator. It's in these moments that we are drawn closer to Him. Our hearts are healed, and our trust in His plan deepens our commitment. God uses solitude to cultivate a relationship with you that goes beyond surface level interactions. He desires to meet you where you are, to speak to your heart, and to lead you into a deeper understanding of His love and purpose for your life. In the quiet, in the moments when you are alone, God is waiting to draw you closer to Him alone. This is often perceived as a negative experience, something to be avoided at all costs. People fear being alone because they associate it with loneliness and isolation or a sense of being abandoned. But what if being alone could be a powerful tool for spiritual growth in those quiet, seemingly empty moments? God here is giving you the opportunity to reflect, grow, and strengthen your faith. All of these things cannot be done in busyness or chaos. Aloneness, when embraced in the right context, becomes a time of self-reflection and spiritual development that's essential to your walk with Him. Self-reflection is an invaluable process that allows us to take a step back from the hustle and bustle of life and truly evaluate where we are spiritually, emotionally, and mentally in a world that is constantly moving and filled with distractions. It's easy to get caught up in the daily grind and forget to take the time to reflect on our own inner condition. When we're alone, without the noise of external influences, we're given the opportunity to turn inward and examine our hearts. It's in these quiet moments that we can honestly assess our lives, our behaviors, in our relationship with God. In solitude, we are able to evaluate our motivations, our desires, and our struggles. We can ask ourselves difficult questions that we may otherwise avoid in the busyness of life. Ask yourself, how is my relationship with God? How is it? Am I living in alignment with His will? What are the areas of my life that I need to surrender to Him? These questions require deep introspection and the solitude that God often brings us into create the space. This kind of reflection, without the distractions and demands of others, we could be fully honest with ourselves and with God, allowing Him to shine a light on the areas that need healing and transformation within us. So, I'm going to mind the time to hold a safe, sacred space for you to consider the words we've been inspired by today. What can you make of quiet moments? What can you do with an entire day, week, month, or year of so-called isolation, either physically or emotionally? Are you open to use solitude and silence in a way to begin building an all-encompassing relationship with your Maker? Lots to consider this week. And might I add, as an end note, before we begin our meditation session today, sometimes it's not so much that we are physically isolated or alone, but we become mentally or spiritually or sometimes physically lonely and isolated. No matter what type of loneliness or isolation or solitude you are dealing with, let's put it to work for our good. So consider these thoughts and come back when you hear a soft bell. Okay, let's come back. Gently breathe. Keep breathing. Gently, softly coming back to this present moment and this room that you are here now, physically in, with the sound of my voice. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Peace comes when I embrace the stillness and use it to infuse my soul with God's tutoring love and lasting guidance. My prayer for you is that you use this meditation every day this week to consider how you can shift your paradigm on being alone and in the quiet and in the silence. Use every moment of your life, even if you're doing chores, cleaning the kitchen, making your bed. Use those as silent reveries for yourself. May you find peace today. May you feel light and love in your heart from above. May you take in more light today than you did yesterday, and consider sharing this session with someone you love. I'll be back next week. I hope you join me. Bye for now.